Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of Bookkeeper Radio, where tonight we turn our focus to marketing practices specific to bookkeepers. I'm Kelvin Deere, and my co-host, of course, Peter Thorpe. Good evening, Pete.
G'day, mate. How you doing?
Not too bad tonight, thank you. And joining us tonight are our guest panellists, Darrell Weekes from Purple Thread Marketing. Good evening, Darrell.
Good evening. How you going, guys?
Good. And mate, if you can, there we go. Good work. We've got Kerrie Jarius from Facts and Figures, and of course, a Director of Australian Bookkeepers Association. Welcome, Kerrie. I'll just unmute you, Kerrie. There we go. You're good. How are you, Kerrie?
I'm really good.
That's really good. Also joining us from the bookkeeping fraternity is Kathy-maree Bartle from Books Alive Bookkeeping. Good evening, Kathy.
Good evening, gentlemen. And
How
Kerrie.
All right, just a reminder on how we can participate on tonight's session. Of course, we've got the raise your hand screen there at the bottom. So that's going to be available to you when we get to our question time. So we have about 30 minutes of panelist session tonight, and then you can hit that raise a hand button, and we'll come to you guys to ask questions of our panelists. You can have the live chat there, so you've got a chat screen there as well, which you can just make some comments on if you see fit. And of course, a further way to continue the discussion is through the Bookkeepers Radio's dedicated Facebook page, which is, of course, www.facebook.com/Bookkeeper Radio.
Okay. Look, a special thanks to Darrell. For those of you who have not met Darrell before, a couple of little fun facts. He's had a long history in, how many times can I say long, Darrell? He's had a long history in financial services, in particular marketing. It's his area of specialty. He is a current marketing ambassador for COSBOA. He's a great friend of ABN and speaking at our last few conferences. He's speaking at the upcoming Accountants and Business Expo at the Sydney Exhibition, the new Sydney Exhibition Centre on the 21st and 22nd. Hopefully everyone gets along to that. And he's worked directly with a number of our bookkeepers on their own individual marketing plans. In fact, he was so well received at our October 2016 conference, we thought we should really get him along to do a Bookkeeper Radio session with us. So, Darrell, pleasure to have you along, mate.
Thanks, Pete. Pleasure to be here.
Now, Kelvin, marketing seems to be a big issue for bookkeepers at the moment. You being the expert on our survey, some thoughts?
Thanks, Pete. Well, just to set the scene a little bit for tonight, I've just brought up a slide here that represents the stage of a business cycle. So this is from the 2016 Bookkeeping Benchmark Survey. So we can see that we've got startups who are obviously in clear need of some marketing assistance there. So we've got 13% of our population size was in that startup phase. The growth phase represented 36 and a bit %, and of course the maintaining or maintenance mode people representing about 43%. Now, if you combine all those, that just in the startup and actively seeking growth phase, I mean, they themselves represent about 50% of our surveyed population. So I guess, Darrell, if I can bring you into the discussion here, from a whole of industry point of view, what would is 50% of a population size actively requiring some sort of formal marketing? Was that normal in your experience?
No, it's quite low. I only work with professional service businesses, as you know. So I work with accountants, lawyers, physiotherapists, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, and the like. Some of the industries, real estate, mortgage broking, business broking, that kind of thing, 99% of the business there require marketing. It's an ongoing sales business. But when you look at accountants, for instance, and physiotherapists and lawyers and that kind of thing, what you find is that ultimately that figure is around about sort of 80%. And I'm talking about people who are actively seeking to grow their business, to retain and acquire new clients. So 50% is actually quite low. And I'd be quite keen to find out sort of the reasoning behind that, the maintenance mode that you're talking about there still requires, some level of contact with your clients.
Mate, I suspect a good chunk of that is because once a bookkeeper appointment's made, you probably find they tend to keep them for a while. They're not an incident, like a sale of a business, broking business. You need a regular turnover. And I think you probably find because you've got an ongoing appointment for a bookkeeper, you probably find there isn't that great turnover, the need to keep tipping new leads in the top, but it's still a hot issue from what Kelvin was saying from the survey.
We've got
actually, I think.
Sorry, Darrell, I was going to say we've also got Kerrie and Kathy online there who have mature bookkeeping businesses. It might be good to get a perspective from them as to what they see that marketing side of their business be. Kerrie, I might start with yourself.
Yeah, I'd say that most maintaining businesses really need to be focusing on some marketing, particularly now. And I've been talking to a few bookkeepers recently who have never marketed before and are now feeling that in order to maintain that existing base, they're going to have to do some marketing, which they've put themselves way outside their comfort zone. And I think our industry has never really traditionally marketed. I think we've been more by word of mouth and by recommendation by accountants have been the main way that we've got business, but we've got to change that now.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think referrals are always a strong way of bookkeepers getting clients in the past. Kathy-maree, what's your experience been with marketing in a general sense?
Okay, well, I've tried the back of a bus. That didn't work. Radio advertising. I've done paper advertising. Actually, it's my vehicle and my clients that give me my business. So, yeah, it's been a very interesting journey.
When you say your vehicle, you mean your car? The car?
Yeah, my car. Yeah. My car's got sign writing all over it, and the local bus depot has me plastered on the back of their bus.
Excellent.
So
I've never been plastered on the back of a bus, but that sounds interesting.
It is. It's very.
Darrell, any other comments there before we look at another issue?
Yeah, a couple of things. Kathy-maree makes an excellent point. Most of the businesses that I speak to, and when you talk to bookkeepers, what she was talking about there is tactical marketing. So tactical marketing is the medium that you use to get your message across to your intended market. So the back of a bus is a tactic, radio is a tactic. The strategic side of marketing, which is the bit that I work with, is what you say and how you say it. It's the message that you give. It's how you position yourself in the minds of your potential clients. So we know what the mediums are to get the message out there. It's what you say that's more important. So working with Kathy-maree, we're going to look at some of these tactics again, a way to get our message out there. There are more efficient and far less costly ways to get them out there. We'll discuss some of those tonight. But when you look at what Kathy-maree's been doing, you go, that hasn't worked. And we understand that doesn't work. And it's because the message was wrong. It wasn't resonating. Kerrie, just commenting on Kerrie there, at the conference, Kerrie made an excellent point about the life cycle of clients. You mentioned how clients when businesses are in sort of maintenance mode, how clients sort of stay. But Kerrie made an excellent point. She had a fantastic graph about the point at which clients start to move away. I'd like to hear a little bit about that, because I think that's one of the critical things that a lot of these bookkeepers in maintenance mode don't understand. You are going to lose clients. It's just how it works.
Okay. With the life cycle of a client, it's something that I looked at recently, in that when you've had a client for a long time, and most bookkeepers do have some really long-term clients because they don't tend to change their bookkeeper. So they're really happy in the beginning when you're with them and everybody's really happy. Then they sort of get into a comfort mode where they're really comfortable with what you do, and then all of a sudden, because everything goes really well, and let's face it, if you're a really good bookkeeper, then things are really boring, and it should be boring if you're a good bookkeeper, because everything's rolling along really nicely. And then what happens is that client gets very complacent in their service with you and starts to wonder if you're getting value or they're getting value. So it's at that point that you need to either recontact with that client or do some marketing, because if you leave that too long, you will lose that client. So it's very important that you keep in touch with where that life cycle of your client is. And we tend to ignore it when people are not in contact with us. And then what happens is we actually ignore a really good client and we service the squeaky wheel.
You make a good point there, Kerrie, and that probably might lead us nicely into the next sort of question. So, Peter, I might get you to fire that one.
Like, take us back to our survey, Kelvin, and like the last few years have told us that the most important, or one of the top two most important areas has always been about sourcing new clients. And within that, the interesting thing that comes out of that is how bookkeepers do source clients. And the top 4 reasons aren't backs of buses, they're not radio, they're client referrals, they're accountant referrals, other forms of referral, and their own networking. And that brings out Kathy's point a little bit earlier. So each of those 4 points of marketing, they're all essentially leveraging a relationship. They're relation-based forms of marketing, not being an expert on marketing, but it all seems to come from a relationship of some description. So Darrell, I was just going to bounce you and see what your thoughts are, is why a relationship so important in marketing a bookkeeping service?
Well, unlike a transactional business where, for instance, if you're selling your house, the real estate agent becomes one of the most important people in your life for a very short period of time. And then once that's done, the transaction's over and you move on. So buying a car, for instance, that relationship becomes very important. It's why I get a little annoyed with car yards who send you Christmas cards and try and maintain a relationship with them, because it was a transaction. I buy my car from wherever I like. I don't have an ongoing relationship with you. But with a bookkeeper, you've actually got a very personal, ongoing relationship. And just because you do someone's books and you don't speak to them on a regular basis doesn't mean you don't have that relationship with them. Now, it's interesting to note that the top 3 methods of generating, in fact, you could count the 4th one in there, the top 4 methods were referrals. We're generating referrals from clients, referrals from accountants and that kind of stuff. They're all, as you say, relationship-based. But the interesting thing about that is now, because technology has changed and changed dramatically, networking is simply a tactic, or referral is simply a tactic. It's a way to get your message. You're asking someone to refer someone to you. We do a great job and you expect them to refer them to you. But you can now utilize online technology, and LinkedIn is one of the best kept secrets when it comes to creating referrals. Now, most of the LinkedIn people who try to teach you how to use LinkedIn have got it wrong, to be quite frank, and I'll tell you why they've got it wrong. They say you've got to build the relationship first. So you've got to send valuable pieces of information. You've got to post stories so you can create this relationship, this online relationship. Well, that's fantastic, except that it takes forever. It takes so much time to create all this content. And I get so many emails through LinkedIn at the moment, I just delete them all. If I see something that's interesting, then I might read it, but that might be 1 in 100. What I'm finding is that a direct approach, where if you have something of value and someone you've connected with on LinkedIn, if I connect with someone on LinkedIn, I don't just connect with them. I send them a mail and say, hey, how about we spend 15 minutes on the phone and get to know each other's businesses? You might be able to help me. I might be able to help you. And I create a real relationship, not a false relationship. I'm talking about being authentic here. Give someone a phone call. And LinkedIn allows you to do that. It's changed dramatically in the last few years. It's a fantastic networking opportunity or referral platform to drive new clients if you get it right. If you don't get it right, it just sucks your time and will drive you nuts. And I suspect that a number of viewers have already tried that and gone, this just doesn't work for me. That's blaming the tactic, not the strategy. They didn't have the strategy right. They had the tactic right, but not the strategy.
Ladies, can we bring you in on that discussion there? So some of the mediums that you use, so obviously client referrals we've spoken about, but how heavily do you get involved with, say, the LinkedIn or the Facebook profiles for your businesses? Kathy-maree, I might start with yourself.
LinkedIn, not at the moment. I'm still working with Darrell and learning. Facebook, probably once or twice a week, advising people what is going on. Google, talking, just speaking to my clients and saying, if you know anybody, anything like that.
Terrific, thank you. Kerrie, what's been your experience with the digital side of marketing for your business?
So the main one that I use is LinkedIn and Google My Business. We've just been set up Google My Business to increase our profile there and try and get ourselves up in the SEO, which is what Darrell's been doing for us. With the medium, we used to do bus advertising as well, but that was a little bit different because I was also their bookkeeper, so I got a pretty good rate. So it was actually free.
Oh,
There you go. I'll be happy with that.
wow.
So there's different things that you can do that don't cost money. The reason that we did that was because they had damaged buses. So what we did was we actually provided the sticker for the back of their bus so that they didn't have to repaint the bus. So you can do things for free and do things outside the box. We do the traditional things like making sure that we make contact with our clients on a regular basis. But as far as the technical side and things, I think getting your ranking up in that Google My Business is really important.
Definitely.
That's good advice. All right, let's turn our attention for the moment to marketing mistakes. And Darrell, you've been, I guess, in and around the marketing game now for many years. Can you tell us some of the war stories that you've seen over the years and how we might avoid some of those?
Yeah, I've identified effectively 4 major mistakes that most professional service businesses, not just bookkeepers, but most professional service businesses, but it applies particularly accurately to bookkeepers. First of all, the first mistake that most bookkeepers make is they try to engage with everybody. They say everybody who is in business is a potential client of mine, so I want to engage with everyone. I try and target everyone. The problem with that is if you try and market to everybody, the message becomes very shallow. You can't get any penetration with it because you're trying to talk to too many people. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Marketing is really simple at the end of the day. People think it's complex, but it's not. It's really simple. It's about having a conversation with someone who has a problem they don't want or who wants something they don't have. So if you're going to have a conversation with someone, you need to understand who you're having the conversation with. So if I'm having a conversation with, let's say, a target market, and let's say I make my target market tradespeople, for instance. Well, the conversation you put out there for tradespeople is different than the conversation you put out there to, say, medicos or doctors, to encourage them to get in touch with you. So the first problem is you've got to understand exactly who you want to have your conversation with. Now, it doesn't mean you have to restrict yourself to just one market. You can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 target markets. It just means that we change the message for each of those markets so we can connect with them more effectively. The second mistake is not knowing what to say, not being able to message the business in such a way that allows prospects to come to the conclusion that you're awesome. Advertising is about beating your drum and saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. And we're all sick to death of advertising. We all watch advertising. I flick the ads off every time it comes on television. Don't like watching ads because they're all about, look at me, I'm fantastic. The key here is to message your business in such a way that your potential clients can come to their own conclusion that you're awesome. I suspect you guys have worked with someone at some point in your life where you've come up with a great idea and you've shared that great idea and they've gone, yeah. And 2 days later, they come back and feed the exact same idea back to you and go, I've come up with a fantastic idea. Let's do this. Yeah. It's the same principle. It's unchanging principles of human psychology is that if someone comes to that conclusion, it's their conclusion. It's not your conclusion. The third mistake is focusing on the tactical side of marketing, where I'm going to put my ad in the newspaper, on the radio, on the back of a bus, as opposed to focusing and spending the time on figuring out what the message is. What can I say that differentiates me from all the other bookkeepers out there? Because if you have a look at the advertising in any industry, what you tend to find is people say the same thing the same kind of way and present it in such a way they think it's unique. And it's not. What you have to do is spend the time. And the good news is that not many people are doing it, particularly in bookkeeping. There's really good news is not many bookkeepers are actually doing it. The bad news is it takes time. It takes effort. And you have to focus on that. You've actually got to put some time into this. It's like eating the elephant. It's one bite at a time. You can't take your marketing from here and tomorrow it's now fantastic and leads rolling through, although there are some strategies you can use to create some initial engagement. And the last mistake that people make is not seeking professional help. And I'll give you an example. If someone came to me and said, Darrell, can you do my books for me? And I said, yeah, I'll give it a crack. How hard can it be? I wouldn't know where to start. I had no idea what the process is. I had no idea what I was doing. But most people, when it comes to marketing, go, yeah, marketing's easy. I know my business. I know my industry really well. I'll just go and do this. And people do what I call intuitive marketing. It's like playing golf. You pick up a golf club and you have a swing, you go, yeah, that seems right to me, I'll have a crack. But marketing, really, really good marketing, isn't false. It's not deceptive. It's not bait and switch. It's actually really authentic. And most importantly, it's counterintuitive. And what I mean by counterintuitive, let me give an example. I'm working with a big real estate agency at the moment in New South Wales, and we've got a campaign running that doesn't have their brand, their logo, their phone number, their website, their colours, nothing. Nothing in the marketing identifies this real estate agency, and they're generating more leads from this campaign than they can handle. Now, that's totally counterintuitive to what every other marketing person will tell you. But we've put a campaign together that doesn't advertise them at all. In fact, I'll give you another example. I'm working with an accountant in the United States, in fact. And rather than driving people to his website, what we're doing, and this is what Kerrie and I are working on right now, is we're creating him a really good profile through his Google My Business page and building up his reviews. And we've now got 40 or 50 reviews on there. He now drives people to his reviews. And rather than driving to his website, because everyone knows what your website's going to say, your website's going to say, I'm fantastic. Look at me, look at me. When you drive them to Google him, and they get him to Google his name, we get his potential clients to Google his name. When they Google his name, they find his Google My Business page on the right-hand side of the Google page, and it says he's got 45 or 47, I think, reviews at 5 stars. What are you now thinking as a potential client? Are you thinking this guy is a good accountant, or are you thinking he's a bad accountant? You're thinking, hey, 47 clients with 5-star reviews? Other people seem to think he's pretty good. I feel pretty comfortable about moving forward and having a chat to him. Now, that's counterintuitive, because every marketing person will tell you, no, drive them to your website, drive them to your website. Well, like I said, your website's just a big banner that says, look at me.
Mate, you make a good point on websites, and you wrote a story in newsletter, I think the one before Christmas, and you spoke about a little test you apply to advertising, or the way you describe yourself on a website. And you said, if you can substitute your name for anyone else in the industry, well, it doesn't work. It's a generic ad. I can't remember the name of the test you gave it, but it was a really, really good point.
It's called the Scratch Out Right In test. And what it says is that if you can scratch your name out of your website and insert someone else's name, and the message still resonates, the message still says the same thing, you're going, well, you're not unique. You haven't thought enough about what your core message is, what your value proposition is to your clients. So that's a Scratch Out Right In test. It's it actually opens some eyes when you have a look at that. Yeah,
and I thought it was a good test, and it says, okay, well, if you can scratch a name out and put someone else's in, then you haven't. There's no competitive edge in your site. There's nothing in it that's different to anyone else. You're not standing out.
Yeah, I described it to someone recently saying this. Imagine a large, like a queen size or a king size bed sheet, and it's Egyptian cotton, 1,000 thread count. This is really good quality stuff, right? The problem is, if you look at that bed sheet, you hang that bed sheet up, you look at it, you can't see one thread from another. They all blend in. They look exactly the same. That's what marketing and advertising looks like in any industry. They all blend in. The key is to weave one purple thread through the middle of that big sheet, and it stands out like anyone's business. That's what strategic marketing does for you. It positions you differently to all your competitors and allows you to stand out. What really good marketing does, it attracts people to you. It has your market coming to you. And this is the key for bookkeepers, because hanging around with you guys for the last 7 years, I've learned a number of things. And one is that bookkeepers are really good at what they do by and large, really good at what they do by and large. But they're very poor at telling people they're really good at what they do by and large. But if someone comes to them and says, hey, can you do my books? Are you any good? Yeah, not a problem. I can do that. And that's the key to good marketing, engaging in that conversation with someone without saying, look at me, I'm fantastic, without pushing yourself down people's throats. That's what good marketing does.
Okay, mate. That's brilliant. A quick question. In the flyer for tonight's radio session, you promised us some secrets for marketing. You called them the 4 M's, the secret sauce, whatever you want to call it. And
the secret sauce?
Yeah, I want to hear what the 4 M's are. Spill the goss on the secret sauce, mate.
Okay. The 4 M's to marketing. The first one is market. Who do you want to have a conversation with? Identify, think about who you want to work with. And when I say that, you go, who is my ideal client? Who would I really like to work with? What size are they? what stage are they in their business, what industry are they in, are they in a geographical area. Having said geographical area, there's no reason why you can't work all over Australia. So who do you want to have a conversation with? And that doesn't have to be just a market, that can be a number. You know, you can look at all sorts of industries and say these are the attributes they have. Identifying who you need to talk to, that's the first M. The second M is message. What are you going to say? What is it about your message that will engage someone? It will connect with them, I call it. There's 4 components in your marketing message. The first one needs to be connect. You need to connect with someone who says, hang on a second, there's something here that I can see that is intriguing to me. They're potentially solving a problem or giving me something that I don't want. So the second one is message. What's your message? The third one is the medium. So what medium are you going to use to get your message out there? Is it email? Is it radio? Is it newspaper? What is that medium? How do we get to people? And Kathy-maree is working on a brilliant strategy at the moment. It's a joint venture strategy with a large organisation who's now engaged her to come and present to their members around bookkeeping, because these people get it wrong. Now we've positioned Kathy-maree as the expert. When you get to stand up in front of 20, 30, 40 people and you're the expert, you immediately attract people to you because you're the person in the front of the room. You must know what you're talking about. I want to work with you. So that's one of the strategies we're working with Kathy-maree on.
Can I stop you there, mate? Can I just stop you there? Can we just bring in Kathy-maree on that then? Because obviously, Kathy, that's a great way to engage a very specific audience. How have you found that experience?
The first one starts on the 1st of March, and I found it interesting that the resources that we used to be able to get, we can't get anymore. So I've sort of had to go back on my training back and remember things and then go searching. They rang me yesterday to get a synopsis, I think that's what you call it. And the gentleman goes, what's that? What's that? And I'm going, well, hang on a minute, this is your trade. So I was able to talk him through it, and hopefully it'll work.
All right, terrific. Thank you for that. Sorry, Darrell, keep going. Secret sauce number 2.
3.
Yeah, and
3.
That's it. So the medium, and I was saying, Kathy-maree is using a joint venture strategy with a direct medium. So she stands up in front of the room. That's her medium to deliver her message. The last one is motivator. Oh, let me go back to medium for a second. One of the most underutilized and most powerful tools we have today is YouTube. YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world, and virtually everybody gets it wrong. What I mean by that is people go to YouTube for 2 reasons. A, to be entertained. I want to see cats playing pianos. I want to see, people falling off motorbikes or whatever it is. The next one is education. How do I iron a silk shirt? How do I get rid of ants? How do I do something? The problem is businesses will put ads on there about their business. Now, we've been beaten to death with ads since we were kids. The TV gives it to us, the radio gives it to us, the billboards give it, everywhere you go. Magazines have got it, the newspapers, everywhere you see is ads. The last place you want to see an ad is on YouTube, because you're going there to learn something. So the key to it is not run an ad about your business, but to genuinely and authentically give away information that positions you as an expert. If you know stuff and you share it with people, they come to the conclusion you must be awesome at what you do. This is part of that, the secret sauce I'm talking about, creating that attraction for people.
Right, that's a good point, isn't it? When you see an expert put out information, you don't, as a consumer, you don't look at it and say, well, I now know everything, I don't need the expert. It's really about positioning the person delivering and saying, okay, well, he does know his stuff. That's a small sliver of what he knows. He is an expert, and it's a good point.
Yeah, or what she knows, absolutely. So that's a great medium, because as I said, if you look at YouTube, the number of bookkeeper videos on there is relatively small, and the number of hits can be huge. I'm looking at some at the moment, and they've had 180,000 hits in the last 18 months on a particular video. And you go, that's extraordinary. Let's just imagine we get 10% of that. There's 18,000 hits in a year. That's 1,000 hits a month. I doubt there's many bookkeepers out there at the moment getting 1,000 hits a month on their website. How'd you get 1,000 hits on your YouTube video? But there's a way to position it. You've got to do it right.
There's an exceptional video on there. It says, behind every good business is a great bookkeeper. That's got several thousand hits on it as well. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Little plug there.
Sorry.
It's your show. You can do the
As you were. Just reinforcing, it works.
Now, the
Darrell,
last M.
I was going to say, Darrell, Kerrie's also been doing a bit of work with you, and I know, Kerrie, you probably hold yourself out in that educational space that Darrell was just talking about. Can you walk us through a couple of things that you've done in that educational space? Because I know you're sort of quite well known amongst your accountancy circles down there.
We've been developing a bit of a program with accountants with time poor accountants to actually go in and get ourselves in front of their clients when they haven't got time to actually go and do a cash flow forecast or actually analyse some of their accounting records or have a look at their financials. So one of the ways we've been getting in front of new clients is via existing accountants and playing on that time poor factor that they have. Because I know everybody that's listening will know that the majority of accountants, the thing that you hear that people criticise is, I never see my accountant. He's never proactive. So we're trying to solve that and then use it as a very cheap marketing ploy by actually getting in front of clients that we haven't seen before. And we've also come in as a trusted advisor from the very beginning, and we've got that first foot in the door to get those people as new clients. And we also know their background. We can also speak to the accountant. If this guy doesn't pay, or if he's not in the industry that we're interested in, then we don't work with him or her.
Yeah, great.
So
thanks,
that's
Kerrie.
one of the things.
And Darrell, secret sauce point number 4.
The last one is called motivator, or your offer. A motivator is something that encourages a potential client to reach out to you, but it has to have 2 traits. It has to be low risk or no risk. You've got to allow someone to experience how awesome you are without them actually spending any money or engaging you. So coming up with an offer that allows someone to experience that is the last key. Now, an example of that would be an ebook or a white paper that you've written about a particular industry and about some of the challenges within that industry that would require a bookkeeper's expertise. Some of the penalties, or not keeping records and that kind of thing. Things about payroll. We know that payroll is a real issue. So you need to have a motivator that allows people to engage with you without having any kind of financial commitment until they understand how good you are. So you've got market, message, medium, and motivator. Now, if you get those right, and you've got to fiddle around with them sometimes to make sure you get the right mix of them, but if you get those right, what you do is you create a connection with your potential market that has them reaching out to you and saying, hey, I want to work with you. I noticed on the graph that you put up there about where clients came from, networking was on there. Now, networking is an awesome way to generate clients if you know what to do. If you understand the components you need to go into a networking function and create clients. If you do, then you can walk away with 5 potential clients every networking event. And people will challenge me on that, but I can prove to you every single time. If they don't, seriously, I'll come to the networking event with you, and I'll show you how to walk away with 5 cards from people who could potentially be clients for you.
So, hey, Darrell, with networking, and that's a good point, is there's plenty of mediums out there for it. So how do you get to one of those things and walk away with 5 leads instead of 1 friend? In other words, how do you get your message to those people out there? Yeah, for the biggest bang for your buck.
Yeah, there's 4 components that you need, and if you go into a networking event with these 4 components, you will go in better armed than 99% of the people at a networking event. Now, you got to remember this: if you go into a networking event, the first thing you got to do is treat it like a business event. This is a business event, not a place to make friends. So the attitude you take in is this attitude: I'm trying to find someone that I could potentially help, or someone who could potentially help me. Not someone I can sell, not someone who's going to become a client, not someone who's going to sell me something, but I need to talk to someone who I could potentially help or who could potentially help me. So now you've got an approach that says, I'm not going in to make friends. There's so many networking events. You see someone grab a beer and they'll walk over and see someone they know, stand there all night and drink 2 beers and go, well, this networking is useless. I haven't got any clients out of this for the last 3 events. But they don't talk to anyone, and they don't talk to anyone because they don't know what to say, which is the next bit. So you need to have an approach. Next thing you need to have is a target. I do 1 networking event 10 times a year. So once a month for 10 months, I do a networking event, a big networking event, and I don't leave until I've got 10 cards of people who want to talk to me. So I generate 100 leads per year out of one networking event per month. And that's because I've got a target. I don't leave until I've hit my target. The next thing you need is you need your message. What are you going to say? How do you engage with someone in such a way that has them going, hang on a second, that sounds really cool? Or the ultimate that I teach my clients is that if someone says, how do you do that? How do you deliver that? Tell me more about that. That then allows you to engage with someone. And the last thing you need is you need a low risk, no risk offer that will have them give you give you their card, so you can say, hey, I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can set up a time to have a chat. So if you go with those 4 things, you'll be far better armed than 99% of the people in the place. But the first one is really important. You're not going in to sell anyone. You're not going in to get a client. You're not going in to be sold something. You're going in to find people that you could potentially help or who could potentially help you. If you take that mindset in, it changes the whole dynamic of the event.
Mate, the good-looking bloke to my left is telling me we have to now throw to some callers. So how do we normally do this, Kelvin? You say, everyone, put your hand up if you've got a question.
Yeah, so guys, on your screens there, you'll see your raise a hand button. If you've got a question for any of our panellists tonight, if you can just raise your hand and I'll come to you, promote you to the panel, and we can get a few questions answered through the next 10 or 15 minutes. Just while people are thinking of what those questions might be, Darrell, we've touched briefly on a couple of mediums. So we've spoken about obviously that digital and LinkedIn and Facebook, and obviously that networking. What are a couple of other low-cost mediums that you're aware of that could help our bookkeepers out?
Referrals, and we've spoken about referrals today. Referrals are very effective and very low cost. But here's the problem with referrals. If a bookkeeper asks for a referral, the person who's giving the referral has to know someone who's looking for a bookkeeper. And if you're not looking for a bookkeeper, it doesn't matter how often you ask, you're not going to get a referral. The key to referrals is to create something of value that someone who's not looking for a bookkeeper at the moment can engage with. And what I mean by that is that if you think about Kerrie's bell curve that she had at the conference, and at the back end of that bell curve, it spoke about those clients who are potentially unhappy with their current bookkeeper. They haven't spoken to them enough. They don't feel they're getting enough value, whatever it is. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those clients about. Now, they're not actively looking for a bookkeeper, but they're in that mindset. So if you think about this, if you think about the process from someone going from I'm not looking for a bookkeeper to I need someone, and you think about that as a line, and that's 100% here and that's 0 there, these people are somewhere along that line. So what we've got to do is we've got to engage with them in a no-risk, low-risk fashion. So, for instance, if you had some kind of engagement that allowed you to, I don't know, do a forensic books audit or to check what's been done at the moment, to a second pair of eyes type thing, something along those lines. Kerrie said something a little while ago that really pricked my ears up. This is not on the show here, but she said that she had a client once and they went through their books and they found that they could claim back something like $10,000 worth of GST that they'd overpaid. And the client absolutely loved them, words to that effect. So what I'm saying is that just because someone's been doing the books, it doesn't mean the client's happy. Just because they're not looking for a bookkeeper doesn't mean they don't need a bookkeeper. So what we've got to do is engage with those people, and the referral can't be for a new bookkeeper. You'll get some of those people, but that will only happen if someone says, gee whiz, I'm looking for a new bookkeeper, or I've just started a business, I'm looking for a bookkeeper. The people you want to engage with are 97% of those people who are somewhere along that line, and we create an offer that allows them to see how awesome you are, so they can go, gee whiz, I've been with my current bookkeeper for 5 or 6 years, been fantastic, but you know what? I really need something more now. I need someone else who now can take my business to the next level. Yeah. So the referrals work particularly well if it's the right kind of referral.
Mate, we've got a lot of shy bookkeepers at the moment, but I've got a question. I'm extracting it from chat, and it's about something that Kerrie touched on earlier, who works quite well with accountants around the place. For many bookkeepers, accountants are pretty scary, tough, dour individuals with no sense of humour or personality. So how does a bookkeeper And I'm going to ask this one of Kerrie. How do you get a bookkeeper to warm to you, short of solving their consulting problems when they're too time poor? Have you got any sort of tips and hints along those lines?
Just before you start, Kerrie, I'll just remind people, so if you do want to ask a question of the panel tonight, just hit that raise your hand button that you see on your screen. There we go, we've got one there now, got a couple. Okay, sorry, Kerrie, back over to you.
Just quickly, I did see, came up before, somebody said, how do you engage with an accountant if you haven't worked with them before? Well, if you start with networking and try and get yourself in front of some of those accountants when you're networking, or you can actually just try and call them. And I know it's really hard for some people to call them and say, can I make an appointment? But you will actually get in front of them if they have a need for a bookkeeper. The other thing that you can do is when you go in to see that accountant, when you do snag that meeting, and you need to go in fully prepared with something that you can offer them. Instead of just walking in there coldly and feeling like you're really uncomfortable, which you're probably going to be, because that's what happens when you cold call. But if you go in there with something that will sort of wow them a little bit and get their confidence, then you can sort of relax those barriers and try and get them to refer people to you. So that would be one way that I would do it. And the other thing that you can do is just speak to people, your current clients, and say, who is your accountant? Can I give them a call? So then you've actually got a foot in the door without cold calling. You can say, well, okay, I'll touch base and see, is there anything that you would like me to do? Is there something that I can do better for this client? Or can I make your job easier? So there's an instant foot that you've got in the door with existing clients, because some of those will have their own accountant.
Thank you. Great advice.
Could I just add something there, guys?
Yeah, sure.
Do you mind if I just add something there? Because what Kerrie's actually touched on is a process which fits in with the model, and I use this as an example. First of all, if you want to engage with accountants, that's your market. So remember my first, you've got to have a market. Secondly, she made an excellent point there, and I want to reiterate this because people might have missed it. One of the best ways to get through the door, because there tends to be a receptionist whose job it is to stop people getting to, the person, the boss, whatever the accountant, whatever it is. One of the best ways to do that. Yeah, yours is awesome. So if you're to ring your clients, and I'll give you the script for this. Funnily enough, I've got a process for this, a marketing process for this. You ring your client or your friends or your contacts and you say, hey, I'm looking to contact or make connections with a couple of accountants to share some business with. What's your accountant like? And of course, I'll say, oh, my accountant, Pete Thorpe, he's pretty good. He does my books. He's excellent, that kind of stuff. Oh, fantastic. Do you think I should give him a call? And this is really important. Do you think I should give him a call? Yeah, give him a call. Would you mind if I mentioned your name? No, that's fine. When you then ring up for Peter Thorpe and the receptionist says, PT Partners, how can I help you? I'd like to speak to Peter Thorpe, please. I may ask what it's in relation to. Yeah, it's in relation to Kerrie Jarius. Okay, she rings you and says, Pete, I got Darrell Weekes on the phone, wants to talk to you about Kerrie Jarius. The chances of you taking the call are much, much higher. First thing. Second thing is, I get on the phone and you say, Peter Thorpe speaking. Say, g'day, Peter, it's Darrell Weekes here. Mate, I'm a local bookkeeper here, and I was speaking to Kerrie Jarius the other day, and I said, I'm looking for a really good accountant to share some business with, and she said, I should call you. Now, what I've just done is I've given you a third-party endorsement from Kerrie saying you're awesome. You now feel a little bit good because I'm ringing you because she said I should call you because I'm looking for an awesome accountant. So now you're not thinking, hang on, this person's trying to sell me something. And I'm not. I'm just trying to work out whether I can add any value to your business. Now, the next thing that Kerrie made a point of, which is, I want to reiterate this again. What she talked about is paying people in a currency they value. What have I got that could be of value to you? And that's what I want to do. If I want to meet with you, I want to find out as a bookkeeper, have I got something that you find valuable? For instance, could I refer you clients? Are you looking for, investor clients or business clients, or, is there something I can do that helps your business first? And that's the first thing I'm looking to do. So you make a meeting, and because we both know Kerrie, the likelihood of you saying, yeah, I'm happy to catch up with you for 20 minutes and have a cup of coffee and talk about doing business together, much, much higher. But that's how you start to build your list. Ring your clients and your contacts and say, hey, what's your accountant like? And you might get some people give you the same name. So I could ring you and say, hey, look, Kerrie, Kathy-maree, and I was going to say Nigel, but it's not. So I was going to say Kelvin next door. Actually, Kelvin said, call Pete. He's awesome. I'm sorry to those people on the call. It's a little private joke. I'm sorry about that.
All right, Lynn, we've got Lynn on the line. Welcome to Bookkeeper Radio. Lynn, could you ask your question to the panel, please?
Hi, Darrell. Hi, guys.
Hi, Lynn. How you going?
Good, thank you. I just wanted to I've been working with Darrell since the ABN conference, so I've just been putting into practice some of his suggestions. One thing I did bring up with Darrell was I also attended the IPA conference. I'm a member of the Institute of Public Accountants, and I attended their national conference in Melbourne with the aim of making contacts with people. And I found that as a networking event, as well as gaining knowledge, but I found that they weren't even carrying business cards. They couldn't give me details of how to contact them. So that was I found that difficult. And so my statistics of networking events, I'm in a couple of networking groups, I've found that the hardest as far as getting people who I can make an offer to or offer them something. That's been one of my biggest things. I've been doing cold calling and that as well. So, yeah, just making that comment there. And I've forgotten what I was going to mention too. There was something else I was going to ask about. I've forgotten. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Thanks, Lynn. Thank you. If there is anyone else out there who would like to ask a question, just raise that hand. We've probably got another couple of minutes before we shut up shop for the night. So raise your hand and we'll promote you to the panel. Thanks very much, Lynn.
Hello. I worked out something, Darrell, from your earlier observation about the Egyptian sheets.
Cotton. Yeah.
Was it cotton? Okay, cotton. Yeah. And you said there was one purple thread in there. Now I've worked out why you called your business the Purple Thread.
Yes.
So there you go. So I've learned something already today.
Well, the name actually I was studying ethics many years ago, and it comes from what's called the Discourse of Epictetus. It's a Roman philosopher, but that's the essence of it. It's, weave one purple thread through, a white sheet containing thousands of threads, and you stand out. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be different, so it stands out against the white noise.
And so I've got one for everyone who's on here, and your experience is working with quite a number of bookkeepers now. What's the single most common, biggest yucky mistake that they make in the marketing sense? Which is, if you could fix one thing and one thing only, what would it be? Not
being able to articulate their value in a concise sentence. Not being able to say, "This is what I do," in such a way that people go, "I understand, I get it." And I use this example all the time. If we met at a networking function and I said, "What do you do?" and you said, "I'm a bookkeeper," that's not going to engage with anyone. You need to be able to, in a really authentic way, in your own words, articulate what it is you do. Now, one of the challenges with that is that there's a lot of people out there who teach elevator pitches, and you've all heard of an elevator pitch. It's a way to pitch your business. The problem with that is that most of those people teach you or try and get you to say things you wouldn't normally say. So they end up making you sound like an idiot. So you meet someone and they go, "Oh, g'day, what do you do?" "Oh, well, we work with the discerning client who demands only perfection from the..." Who the hell speaks like that? Like, seriously. You've got to have it in your own words, and it has to be absolutely authentic. And I talk to my clients all the time about being authentic in the way that you message yourself. You can't be false. You've got to be genuine, but you have to understand what that value proposition is. And if you're going to focus on one thing, understand what that is, and then learn how to share that with people in a way that engages them. That's the number one problem.
All right, guys, we're pretty much out of time tonight. So, Darrell, before we let you go, can you briefly tell us about any opportunities that you have if bookkeepers do want to learn a little bit more about marketing their businesses?
Actually, before you jump in there, big fella, I've also got a thought on it, and listening to tonight's session and also going through some of your articles in the recent Bookies Bulletin, I wonder if possibility would exist to maybe put together some webinars that scratch beyond the surface of where we've gone, so that we can actually make it a bit more real for bookkeepers trying to tackle the big 4 M's or the big mistakes, that sort of stuff.
So something that goes a little deeper, gives you some actual like practical strategies and stuff that you can. But I can do that. That's happy to do it for you guys. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If
it was any one of the other organisations who asked me, I'd have to say, not really. But you guys, yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're out of time. Thanks very much to all our panellists tonight, Kerrie, Kathy-maree, and of course Darrell from Purple Thread. So thanks very much, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed tonight's session, and we look forward to joining you in a couple more weeks when we host our next Bookkeeper Radio session. A good night to everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone.